take. With every word I say, I wanna live each day and tell the story. I found the one who has a love deep as the ocean. I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna put my faith in motion. My city, gonna jump into my world. Gonna live to share my love with every boy and every girl. Gonna jump into my city, gonna jump into my world. Gonna live to share my love with every boy and every girl. Jump in. You're the God of this city, you're the King of these people, you're the Lord of this nation. You are, you're the light in this darkness, you're the hope to the hopeless, you're the peace to the restless. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like our God. For greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. You're the God of this city, you're the King
it's time for our memory verse corner, and today's memory verse is found in Isaiah 41:10. You know the drill. I say it twice, you repeat after me the third time. Okay, so here we go. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Okay, good job. Let's listen to it one more time. Here we go, ears open. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Okay, so here's the fun part. You get to get up with me and you get to say the verse after me. So I'm gonna say a part of the verse. I'll point to you, you repeat. Here we go. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Great job, everybody. Turn to someone, give them a high five, or your imaginary friend, that's cool too. Give them a high five. Or you can be like, God, give you a high five. Woo, that's cool too. Hi everybody, it's Pastor Katie, and it is time for our Bible story week 3, and it's gonna be awesome. So this whole month we're talking about overcoming our fears, and God commands us in the Word to not be fearful, but to be bold and to be courageous. And there's a famous verse about that in Joshua that we studied 2 weeks ago. So that this doesn't mean that our fears like naturally go away, right? Poof! Like be bold, be fearless, and you're like, okay, suddenly I have no more fears. It doesn't exactly work like that, okay? But we can't let our fears stop us from obeying God. That's the problem, right? We're gonna struggle with some fears and some anxieties, but through those fears and anxieties, we slowly trust God. We are obedient to trust Him, and then over time it's easier and easier to give Him our fears and to obey and trust Him because we've seen how faithful God has been. And so that's really what this whole month is about. But week 1, we talked about the Israelites, and Joshua led the Israelites to walk around Jericho, and they finally got out of the desert after 40 years, and they finally made it to their promise, the promised land. And the walls, what happened, came crumbling down after God gave them some strange instructions about walking around the wall 7 times. But they were obedient, they did it, they didn't question God, and they saw His faithfulness through that situation. In week 2, we talked about the 3 dudes in the fiery furnace. So they would rather have been thrown into a fiery, blazing furnace and give their life than not worship their God. These were some pretty bold people, Joshua, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And today, we're talking about another bold dude. This whole month, we're learning about bold people in the Bible that we can learn from. So let me ask, how many of you like lions? Cool, yeah, I like lions too, but how many of you would like to spend the night with a pack of lions? I pray that everyone's hand who was up a second ago went down right away. I would not want to spend the night with a bunch of lions. That does not sound fun, especially in a dark pit where you can't see anything. You can't tell if a lion is like 2 inches from your face. But that brings us to Daniel's story. So we're going to hear what happened, and we're reading today in the book of Daniel. Okay, so here we go. Daniel was one of the Israelites that was taken as a slave to Babylon. Everyone say Babylon with me. Say bat. Bat. A Babylon, a Babylon. You get the idea. Babylon. Great job. Yes, Babylon. So even though Daniel was taken as a slave, the king saw how wise and how smart he was. So smart, in fact, that he was placed in authority over 120 of the king's special advisors, a very special job and privilege. Him and 2 other guys were given this authority over all these men. The other guys didn't like this at all. Like, this was, you have to remember, he was a slave and he was being elevated above them and given more authority over them. So these other guys did not like it. They decided to find something bad with Daniel and to tattle on him to the king and try to get him in trouble. These are some really petty guys who are struggling with insecurity and jealousy. So let's find out what these guys did in their jealousy. So we're reading in Daniel 6. But they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him, because he was trustworthy, and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for a charge against this man Daniel, unless it has something to do with his God." They knew that Daniel was a man of God. And the people of Babylon, they worshipped other gods and other idols. So these men who didn't like Daniel, they went to the king and they said, "May King Darius live forever. Your royal staff have all agreed that the king should issue a law that anyone who prays to any other god or human during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den." So King Darius thought this sounded good, and he put the decree into writing. Wow, that does not sound good at all. Daniel is a man of God, and he is commanded by God to only worship him, the one and true God, that there should be no other idols before him. But now the king, who actually does like Daniel and has made him a very important person, he wants everyone in the land to bow down and worship him, King Darius. Daniel's in a pickle, right? If he obeyed God, then he's disobeying the king. If he obeys the king, then he's disobeying God. Sounds like Daniel had a very hard decision to make, and he had to choose who he would ultimately obey, which king he would follow. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows were completely open into Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying, and they asked God for help, and they found him asking for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. "Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any other god or human, except for you, King Darius, would be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "The decree stands in accordance with the law and cannot be taken back." These guys are sneaky, man. They wanted the king to have no other choice but to throw Daniel in the lion's den. They trapped the king into a corner with his own words so that he would throw Daniel into the lion's den. Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who's one of the exiles from Judah, he pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree in your writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and make every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went as a group to King Darius and said to him, "Remember, your majesty, that according to the law of Moses and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed." There's nothing that the king could have done. He made a law and he couldn't break it. What would happen if the king broke his own laws and commands? He would lose all the respect of his people. He had to do what he promised to do, even though he cared for Daniel and he really worried about his friend's safety. So the king gave this order, and they brought Daniel and they threw him into the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, "May your God whom you serve continually rescue you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. And the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. The king was super distressed. He obviously cared about Daniel because he went to bed without supper or entertainment. That means he went to bed without mac and cheese, went to bed without watching his TV. He was really worried about his buddy Daniel. And think of Daniel, think how he must have been feeling. He must have been pretty scared too. Even though he honored God and knew that was the decision he had to make, he still must have been kind of scared, but he knew the risk. And he decided he'd rather be thrown into the den than to dishonor and disobey his mighty God. So, verse 19, at the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve, continually been able to rescue you from the lion's den? And Daniel answered, May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me. And the king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. God saved Daniel. He honored his courage and his bravery, and God used this to share his power with the king and people of Babylon. And this is what the king said to the people. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed, and his dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth, and he has rescued Daniel from the powers of the lions. Daniel took a great risk obeying the commands of God, but he knew that God was worth the risk. It's not always easy to be obedient to God, but it's always worth it. And God protects those who are faithful to him. He is faithful to those that are faithful to him. So I encourage you, boys and girls, be bold, be fearless, and live faithfully to the only God, the only one who deserves it.
My song of deliverance, you are my hope.
Hi everybody, it's time for our activity of the day description. It's going to be really awesome. Today we sent out an activity. Remember, if your parents aren't still getting that, they need to email me, Pastor Katie, and my email is katie@freedomcenterchurch.com. They can get on our mailing list, and you can get these awesome activities every week that go with our teaching. So today, our activity is all about how obeying God gives us protection. So you were told in your activity to play a simple game of Simon Says. But there's a slight twist. Instead of saying, Simon says, remember how in Simon Says, we say Simon says and you do what Simon says, you stay in the game. But if the person who is in charge, if they say, sit down, without saying Simon Says, then you're out, right? And so there's a slight twist in the game today where the leader is supposed to say, God commands you to do this. And if they don't say, God commands you to do this, and you do it, then you're out. So we learned that whenever you did what God commanded you to do, you got to stay in the game. You were safe, right? There was protection in following the commands that God gave, right? But if you didn't, if you just did something that God did not command, then you were out of the game, right? And this is similar to our story. We know that when we are faithful to God, that when we obey God, right, and not just do things because they feel good or they sound good to do, but we only do exactly what God has told us to do, right, and follow his wisdom in everything that we do, then we know he will be faithful to us. He will bring protection and favor in our lives, and we will always walk in his way.
My joy in every season.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed week 3 of Be Bold, Be Fearless. It's been awesome. I hope you enjoyed today learning all about Daniel and the lion's den. And now it's time for our question. We're going to close our day with a question of the day, and this is it. How can you be faithful to God in your life even when it's scary? Think about it, pray about it, write it down in your prayer journals, and ask God to reveal those answers to you throughout the week as you meditate on this teaching from today and the memory verse from today, Isaiah 41:10. I love you guys. I will see you next week. Bye.
You are the Lord, oh